Is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hi. Congratulations for reading. Well, hello everybody. I'm so everybody on the live stream audience. So I found out from Ryan that they'll be here until Saturday. So you can buy the book on the website, and in the memo section you can ask for a personalized copy to John, Sally, whoever, and then we'll arrange to get that done. We'll also have, if you don't care about having your name on there, we'll have signed copies, a lot of signed copies before Ryan goes, so you can do that as well. So upcoming announcements and events, our lineup is on our website. You can check that out. Our next two events on Tuesday is our pop-up event in Boston with Barney Frank and Jamie Kirchick, book Secret City, with food by Woodsville Pier 4 in the spot we'll be opening later this year, supposedly by Christmas or Hanukkah. And then Saturday, an event that we just got scheduled is Tom Moore, Adrienne Barbeau, the new book that's just come out, Grease, Tell Me More, Tell Me More. So Tom was the lead director, producer, one of the producers for the London and US productions, and they'll be here Saturday at 5 p.m. So that information is on the website. Anyway, thank you for coming on this hot day to East End Books, Provincetown, but it is a beautiful day. If you're not in town, come visit us. We'd love to welcome you. So, we're thrilled to present Just by Looking at Him by Ryan O'Connell, co-star of Queer as Folk. He's in conversation with Jonathan Parks-Ramage, who we had with his beautiful book, Yes, Daddy, which is continuing to sell very well. Ryan's book, the only problem I'm having is I can't get enough because I've sold so many copies, but we'll keep selling a whole lot of that. As you probably know, Ryan is the Emmy-nominated creator, writer, and star of Netflix Special, which is based on his memoir, I'm Special, and Other Lies We Tell Ourselves, which we have in the store. He's also written for other TV shows like Will and Grace, Awkward, and Peacock's Queer as Folk Revival, which he also stars in. So he lives, laughs, and loves in LA with his partner, Jonathan Parks-Ramage. Jonathan, of course, is widely published in many outlets, in many magazines and other publications. He's an alumnus of something I really love, the Bread Loaf Writers Conference. They live in LA. So we're very excited to welcome you here. Thank you for coming. Thanks, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay. Hi. Oh, what a cute crowd. Oh, so cute. Monkeypox, it's like water everywhere, not enough to drink. Okay. I'm gonna do like two little moments, if that's okay. I'm gonna read chapter 1, because it's a banger, TBH. Okay, chapter 1. My boyfriend Gus has a beautiful penis. It's big and thick without being too big or too thick. It has the right number of pulsating veins when hard. The correct number is 2. It's not crooked or bent. It's not purple or pink. It's sun-dappled olive. The rest of him is great too. High cheekbones, bee-stung lips, wavy brown hair, gentle eyes. Dressed neatly in cardigans and loafers like a true hot gay nerd. But, if I'm being honest, his dick is the star. I loved it from the moment I saw it. Not like I was surprised. My best friend Augie dated Gus before me. Elliot, if God is real, he's a fag, he told me. A straight God would never make a penis this detailed and expressive. It's like the Beach House episode of Girls, a work of art. I made a mental note. At the time I was dating someone else, someone whose penis I can no longer remember. His name was Hudson, which, can you imagine? Yikes. Anyway, we dated for 3 months and Augie dated Gus for 4, which was generous of him, really. I mean, he was doing the prep work, getting him ready for me. And when I broke up with Hudson, there Gus was. My brain, which previously had been an unsafe neighborhood to walk around in at night, had carved out a nice space for him when I wasn't looking. It allowed me to have a nice patch of grass, the sunshine, a Whole Foods even. And for 5 years we were together and everything was perfect. I don't even know how to write about this without slipping into platitudes, so I won't. I will say, however, that even with the best love, you could still wake up one day next to a beautiful man with a beautiful penis and be bored. You could start wishing for a smaller penis, an uglier one with tons of veins and the color of sickness. That boat agrees. Everything gets boring after a while. The sun eventually goes down, the Whole Foods closes, and suddenly, you're in a scary alleyway. For the record, my penis is happy. Okay, so, hold on. I'm gonna do a little moment. I think I'm gonna read about Provincetown. It feels like appropriate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you guys gotten to the Ptown part?
I have.
That's gorgeous. Okay, hold on 1 second. Oh yeah. Here we go. I woke up in the morning to my dad puttering around the room getting ready for our road trip to Provincetown. I panicked for a moment thinking I'd left some booze next to me in bed, but luckily I'd remembered to throw it in the trash before falling asleep. My dad managed to rent a car that made a Pinto look high-end, but he was happy because the car was so old it still had a CD player, which meant he could play his handmade mixes of religious music. My dad is a staunch atheist, but for some reason he loves listening to Gregorian chant music from 5 million centuries ago. These singers are belting their tits out in a foreign language, and my dad will start tearing up on them just like, babe, you know they're singing to God, right? I sat in the car in my own little world with my hangover. I resolved to not drink in Provincetown. There would be no stress, no need to take the edge off. I'd be surrounded by beauty. My dad was right. Route 6 was gorgeous. It takes you down the Cape. Ambiance, I love. Past all these adorable little towns you can convince yourself you could live in one day, and then it leaves you in Provincetown, which is on the outermost tip of the Cape. People have often said Provincetown is located at the end of the world. I like to think of it as being at the beginning of a better one. After 2 hours of driving, we arrived at our hotel. The weather was mid-70s and perfect, like it is in August. Almost like it was flirting with you. Most of the tourists had fled after Labor Day, and Commercial Street, which is the main drag that runs through the town, was just the right amount of populated. How do you describe a magical place like Provincetown? It's like if someone painted the perfect picture of a quintessential New England seaside town, and that someone also happened to be really gay and really horny. Husband and wives eat ice cream with their children right next to a group of leather gays. You can see beautiful pieces of art, eat your saltwater taffy, and then mosey on over to a place called the Dick Dock, which is pretty self-explanatory. In Ptown, okay, I'm a local, the wholesome coexists with the hedonistic. You can bring your dad 1 week and your daddy the next. Once we settled in, my dad needed to nap, so I walked to a place in the West End that has stellar happy hour and a deck with a view of the ocean. Okay, trivia, do you know what that is? We're right in. We're right in. I ordered a cocktail. I know I said I wouldn't, but we tell ourselves stories in order to live by Joan Didion. I thought about the assignment Jonas had given me. Write down every disabled person I'd ever met. I sat down with my lemon drop and started composing the list on my iPhone. Then I quickly stopped, re-triggered and exhausted. A man came up on the beach riding a horse, and a gaggle of gays who all looked like if the suicidal Lisbon sisters had a secret hot brother, gasped, saying they wanted to play with the horsey. They ran down the stairs and gave the horse a giant hug. The owner, a silver fox, seemed amused by the attention. The hottest Lisbon brother asked if he could ride it. I didn't have to say to no that the silver fox said yes. That actually happened. Henry rode a horse, right? We were at the,
Yes.
Yeah. We were at the Red Inn. Some guy literally came up on a horse, and then like
To our hot friend.
To our hot friend, and then our hot friend's like, "Oh my god, I want to ride it." And then we just like
Got to
did.
ride it.
The horse.
That's just called hot privilege. You see a horse, you ride it.
All right. Well, now it's time for the Q and Cray. And I guess I want to start by asking you how horny you were while writing this book, because it is a book that is chock-filled with sex.
Well, I wrote it in core, so not horny at all. Actually, I feel like my dick went night-night for a few months, right? I mean, like, were you guys horny in core? Survey? No? Like, I'm talking like deep core, like April 2020.
Yeah.
May 2020. I don't know. Like, my dick was like doing the Ambien. I mean, you know. You were right there. So I feel like me writing these sex scenes was a way for me to like get it out emotionally and maybe literally. I also just like thought it was a nice writing challenge to see if I could write sex scenes that were cringe. Like, I'd never tried to write a sex scene before. But, so it was kind of fun. And the second I got into it, I was like, okay, slay. Like,
Well, yeah, and I feel like that's why I love this book so much for many reasons. But I feel like the sex scenes really are giving realness in that they achieve both the effect of being really hot, but then there's also like an emotionality that is layered in there, which I feel like is layered into actual sex. You know what I mean? They are hot enough to be pornographic, but they also really forward character and carry character, and there's a real evolution that your character experiences. So I guess tell me a little bit about kind of the evolution of your character's idea of sex and relationship to sex.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I think when sex is done correctly, it's always saying something, good or bad. You know, it's always saying something. And I think that, you know, with Elliot, you know, he says that all he wants is to be seen as a body. It would mean so much to be, you know, seen for so little. And so I think that he's looking for objectification because his dick was castrated at birth. Like, growing up gay and disabled, it was like, it truly was like, say goodbye to your penis forever. And so I think he sees, you know, objectification as the ultimate win and the ultimate value. And I think, you know, that validation is obviously something that doesn't serve him. I think that River, the sex worker, starts off as this sort of safeguard against rejection and a way for him to like work out his sexual issues without fear of judgment. But then I also feel like it ends up doing him a disservice because I think that rejection, TBH, is part of the game. And I think that like understanding that like if someone doesn't want to fuck you, it's not an indictment on you as a person or on your worthiness or your value as a human, is actually really, really essential. And like you learning how to deal with that is really, really important into the journey of self-love. But with River, he's never going to get that, obviously, because he's paying for it. Yeah. So yeah, sex is basically like, it tells a lot about who you are. It's a way of announcing yourself, good or bad. And I'm so fascinated by the ways people behave during sex. It's my muse.
Yeah, and I guess I also want to ask, I mean, kind of on that note, but in general, the book, I mean, I obviously have a front row seat to your life, so I can tell that there is a lot that is pulled from your life. Obviously, it is fiction. But I think throughout your work, there is kind of an element of loose autobiography that kind of is woven through a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
So talk to me about why rip from the headlines of your life and fictionalize it, and kind of how you navigate the balance between fiction and your lived experience.
Yeah, I mean, I needed to exercise some daemons, you know what I mean? Like, I had some Matt Damons living inside me when I wrote this book. And I unfortunately used running as a therapeutic tool rather than as a means to make money, which is really unfortunate for me. But you know, there were a couple things at work. Number one, I needed to get sober. That was a huge fucking deal. I've been struggling with drinking for a couple of years now. I wanted to get off the fucking hamster wheel, but I had not been honest with myself about my drinking at all. And by giving Elliot the voice where he could articulate all these feelings that I had about drinking, it's sort of like when you see, you can't fucking unsee. You know what I mean? And I mean, like a magical witch, I got sober halfway through writing the book because I achieved what I thought would happen, which is that like writing this character, having this really kind of TBD relationship with booze, there was nowhere to hide. I also was in quarantine, you know what I mean? And it was very, very fucking boozy, you know? Ina Garten was making like a vodka smoothie and we're lolling. 9 a.m. ... It's like, babe, are you okay? And like, that's just a larger thing I have about like how society has such a grip on, or like booze has such a grip on our society. Like, we worship at the altar of booze and it's so fucking normalized. And like any other drug that we take, like it's like, oh my god, babe, are you okay? But then it's like, if you don't drink, they're like, babe, are you okay? And you're like, it's truly, truly crazy. And I think it's a lot of systemic conditioning. So like, that was like, I felt like I was being radicalized throughout the course of writing the book. And then also, like, on a real note, like, I was frustrated with myself because I had achieved with Special, like, everything that I wanted to achieve, and my career was in such a great place, and yet I derived so much pleasure from a stranger in Arizona saying "sit on my face" on my Instagram, and I would love to not. You know what I mean? It's like Emmy nomination, stranger from Arizona saying "sit on my face." It's like stranger in Arizona. You know what I mean? And like, how do we change that? Let's get to the hood, baby. Let's get to work. So you know what I mean? So I felt like I was working through that stuff through the book. But the funny thing about the book is that, yeah, people have this thing where they be like, it's you, right? Like, it's all you. It's like from your diary. Like, it's you. Like, literally, like, there's no like that. And I feel like, first of all, like, no. I mean, I feel like that's sort of a disservice to, like, the fact that I do have an image. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, Sally Rooney writes the same fucking book about, like, straight people who can't talk in Ireland. Like, whatever. But, like, and also, like, Jonathan can totally vouch for this. I have never gotten into a weird relationship with a sex worker and burned our relationship.
It is true, fortunately.
I know, but I mean, like, also, like, people do actually say, like, to Jonathan, they're like, oh my god, Jonathan is Gus, ... First of all, like, Gus and I broke up, so, like, what? Second of all, it's like, there are things about being in a long-term relation that I find fascinating and kind of antithetical to how we're wired as humans, and that is a really interesting thing to me and to you.
Yeah.
But it is not the relationship that we have. And I also think it's like a testament to like your security in yourself and our relationship that like you could read something like this as another writer and be like, yeah, like go on.
Yeah, well, I get it, because everything is copy, and I do have a beautiful penis, so that part of it.
Okay, I mean, it's like, he's Gus until he's not.
You're gonna have to prove that.
LOL. Yeah, signing. Dick signing. LOL. When my hand gets tired from all the books, just sign his dick. There's so much room. So yeah, so I mean, here's the deal. It's like very emotionally autobiographical. There's no disputing that. The things that Elliot is grappling with are things that I have absolutely felt, and that is very, very true. But the actual circumstances under which he like undergoes, you know, the growth, that's obviously fiction.
Yeah.
That's from my old noggin.
Yeah. I also want to talk about, in the book, if you haven't read it, there is, as Ryan mentioned, like one of the main characters is a sex worker that the protagonist gets into this very kind of like torture relationship with. And what I also like about the book is that I feel like it's a depiction of sex work that we rarely see. I feel like usually we see sex work in the media as like dead bodies on SVU. Do you know what I mean? Like, or like drug addiction, or like just totally informed by so much trauma and tragedy. And of course that is an element of sex work, but that's not all that sex work is. And what I love about the book is there is kind of this more quotidian depiction of sex work where it's just much more like this hot guy has a job where he sells sex, and it's not like this like tortured tragedy. So I guess talk to me about the depiction of sex work. Were you conscious of kind of pushing against kind of stereotypes that you have about sex work?
Well, it was just my experience. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on my back staring at someone's popcorn ceilings on La Brea and Highland, and like, you know, I've never had like penetrative sex with a sex worker, but I've been on rentandstore.com. Never heard of it. Yeah. Gays all fucking know what this is. I swear to God. It's like literally, it's a pinata. You hit us a couple times, it all falls out. I swear to God. Yeah, and so I had my fair share of erotic massages, and I thought it was fascinating and very interesting. And I think, like Elliot, I started to do this as sort of a safe way to work through my issues with my body and my sense of self. And then I think I reached kind of a limit with that. But it just wasn't my experience. I found them to be largely very sweet and very kind, and I found the experiences to be really fun. I love being parachuted into someone else's world and having like brief emotional intimacy and then like leaving. I think it's like sheep above, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just interesting to see how people are wired, and yeah, I just felt like a lot of people have experiences with sex work. I don't think they talk about it. Like, and I think there's also this stigma of like, you only go to sex work if you're a certain kind of person or a certain kind of age, or it's for these kinds of reasons. But truly, it runs the goddamn gamut. And it's just, again, I think it's stigmatized unfairly. And whenever I see something that people aren't talking about that I know everyone experiences, it like makes me steamboat Willie levels of curious. So like I was really, really excited to like dive into a world that I think isn't as uncommon as people think.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, another world you kind of dive into in the book is also the main character is a TV writer who's trapped on this soulless multicam. And so talk to me a little bit about that kind of depiction of that corner of Hollywood and the toxicity within it and how that kind of plays into the character's overall existence.
Right. How do I talk to them about this without burning literally every GM bridge? Because I don't have fuck you money yet. I have please thank you money. Yeah, I mean, I've worked in TV now for 10 years. Oh my god, I'm like a seasoned old bitch. And the business can be a haunted house. It can. It can really erode your sense of self. It can really disrupt your values. Like, I have worked with people that have worked in the business for like 25 years and it is spooky motherfucking spaghetti. Like, they have just endured a lot of abuse, TBH, like before there was a language around that kind of thing. They've been emotionally bottoming for people for a long fucking time and with no agency. And unfortunately, when that happens to you, you have two roads you can fucking take, right? You can be like, okay, that isn't great, so when I get a modicum of power, I'll make sure that no one endures what I had to go through. Or you're like, well, I fucking walked through glass to be on this fucking multicam starring fucking Lake Bell, and so you do too. And it's like, that lake is deep. that lake Bell of pain is deep. And so, unfortunately, like, they just perpetuate the cycle of abuse. And so, I've been in some rooms and I've met some people where I see very much like the ghost of Christmas future, and where it really does all become about money and feeding the furnace rather than actual creativity. And it's not chic. It's really, really not chic. And I feel like Hollywood will always be evil. Unfortunately, they know they can't be openly evil anymore, so it's much more like passive aggressive and like backdoor vibes. But yeah, I've experienced a lot of bullshit, which you know, you can read about.
Well, and then speaking of Hollywood, you've also had a lot of good experiences.
Yes.
Tell us about, because there is a film adaptation in the works, which Ryan has already written and will be.
What? Oh yeah, I'm gonna direct it, which I've never done before. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So tell me about the process of adapting your own work and how it kind of transformed what you maybe learned or changed. Like, what was the process like of translating your own work for the screen?
It was really interesting. First of all, we sold the book rights and the film rights simultaneously. So I was doing revisions on the book and starting on the movie, which was not good, honey. She was like, it was like fucking emotional whiplash. I was like, what's in the book? What's in the movie? Da-da-da. So I actually put away the film and until I was totally finished with the book because it was getting too scrambled eggs brain. The movie has been incredible because it's obviously a different medium, it's very, very visual. How do you tell this story with the same essence and feeling but in a completely different way? And also I get bored really quickly, so I didn't like want to just repeat myself over and over again, so I did kind of remix it a little bit. It is annoying because there are things about the book that I'm like, after it's done, I'm like, oh, that could have been better. But now it's like better in the movie, so I'm like, okay. But it's like dragging myself. I'm like, oh, I didn't like fully arc out that relationship the way that it should have been. But it's gonna be the movie. So watch the movie. It's a lot more of my dad, which I like is a really fun character, and I wanted to put him a lot more in the movie. And it's been a really, really amazing experience. I'm working with kind of these incredible collaborators. Like, here's the deal. Like, sometimes you like work with absolute bozos who don't know what they want, and they give you 40 different directions, 40 different mandates, and it's your job to sort of piece together what they really want, but it's impossible because they actually don't know what they really want. This movie has been the opposite. I've worked with people that completely understand what I have to say, and they're like basically like make it more specific, make it more strange, make it more gay, make it more disabled, like all the fucking things. I think the thing is about the thing about having a very specific voice, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because I can't just like jump from like How I Met Your Mother to like How I Met Your Father to like The Girl with Bangs in Apartment 23 and make a ton of money because like I can't like mask my voice. You know what I mean? But the good thing about it is like if you get it, if you like what I'm doing, you understand it, and you're not going to try to change it. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've been disheartened sometimes where it's like I feel like I've carved out this little lane for myself that didn't exist in this business, and I feel like people outside of that narrow lane still don't really know what to do with me. They're like very TBD, but I feel like the people that do get it like are my biggest champions and like are very passionate about me, and I've been really, really lucky with finding like a couple fairy godmothers who have like ushered me through. So yeah, I feel very lucky about that.
We all get it here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think we're gonna open it up to some questions from the gorgeous audience. If anyone has something they would like to ask.
It always takes a second. Oh, this is quick. I love it. Okay, gorge, yes.
Because you are a writer, and one of the stereotypes about writing is alcohol and the use of alcohol.
Yeah.
There's a history.
Oh
full of
yeah, like all the
alcoholics.
old straight white male
Exactly.
writers, like Charles Bukowski and all that shit that I had to endure in college. Yeah.
How did you negotiate that in your head, or was it ever a factor as you were writing?
I never drank while writing. I sometimes I would edit after a few glasses of wine because I found myself just more open and like less hung up on the detail. They're like, that's bad, like da da da. And I had convinced myself that it was like good for the process. By the way, this is all like gibbity gobbity goop brainwashing. Like I write way better now that I don't have to suffer through a mid-grade hangover permanently. Who the fuck knew? But there is this glamorization of alcohol. Here's the deal. Writers as a whole are very sensitive creatures. Alcohol churns you. I mean, if you didn't have a thin skin, alcohol will make it even thinner. Alcohol to me made it impossible for me to deal with anything. Like, because I was convinced that I needed a substance to calm down, to unwind, to relieve pressure and stress. Having been sober for over 2 years now, I can say that, like, yes, life is stressful, yes, like, whatever, but, like, there's nothing I can't fucking handle. And when I drank, I was convinced that there were a lot of things I couldn't handle, especially not without a couple glasses of wine at the end of the day, because I had earned it. Or, like, do you know what I mean? So, like, in terms of my writing, I think it's like, yeah, the work I'm doing now is the best work I've ever done, and it's because I'm so clear-headed and so focused. So yeah, it's a lot of bullshit. And those alcoholic writers were such assholes. Like Ernest Hemingway, like, I dare you to find a better, like, hero. Like, truly, like, dig a little deeper, baby.
You're talking about, like, with your movie that, you're working with good people who you understand you and stuff, but is it ever hard, like, in your career where, people are asking you, kind of editors or whatever, these are things coming from your experience and what you've been feeling. Is it ever hard then, like, where, someone's giving you feedback, wants you to change something, and, like, how do you react? Like, how would they know, like, what
what's
your
funny?
experience is?
That's a good question. I think I used to get that early on in special. Like, there was this one thing where, like, so with TV, it's all about stakes and consequences, okay? So in season 1, Ryan, the character, lied about being in an accident. Or he said he got hit by a car, which he did, but he blamed it on his limb, whatever. And I remember some of the notes I got in the beginning were like, well, what are the consequences? He's lying. He's lying. That's bad. He's a liar. And I'm like, well, babe, don't you get it? Like, wouldn't you fucking lie? And they didn't get it because they weren't disabled. So they didn't understand completely that, like, this is not a villainous thing to do. This is a very human thing to do, because being an accident victim is so much more relatable than saying I have cerebral palsy, which people are like, babe, ... are you okay? You know what I mean? So that was a little frustrating because I was just like, sort of, okay. Now the note I always get, which is very real, is always, don't be afraid to lean into the emotion, because I love a joke. And that's how I process pain. That's really, really, I mean, that's not groundbreaking. A lot of comedians and stuff do that. But it's funny because I'll feel like I'm like, babe, you don't understand, I did, like, literally just blood for you on the page. Like, I'm literally here, like, bleeding. And they're like, more. And I'm like, I just literally bared my soul. And then it's so interesting because they do push me to reach this new level. And it is emotional. It is emotional for me to tap into this because it is so many things inside of you are walled off without you realizing it. Like for example, like when we pitched Special, I was not attached to star in it because, and I wasn't even sitting there being like, I wish I had the courage to be like, pick me. But like, no, it's like, I didn't even think about it. I truly did not fucking cross my mind. And now having acted in Queer as Spoken Special, I'm like, okay, I actually really enjoy acting and I feel like I've always been a performer, but I never even thought about that. Similarly, with directing, they asked me, they're like, do you want to direct this? I was like, no, babe, I'm good. That's crazy. And they're like, I mean, it's like, it's actually crazy that I'm still feeling this way. I'm still feeling this, like, having show ran, EP'd, starred, whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it just, again, it's systemic conditioning of me just being like, me, a gay disabled director? That's crazy. And then, but the fact that I'm still feeling this way after everything that I've done is actually insane. And that pisses me off. And so, like, I mean, it pisses me off at myself, but it also pisses me off at the world that I was born into. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I forgot your question. Sorry, I go into, like, different journeys.
I want to know about your writing on Will and Grace.
Okay.
Everything.
I mean, I don't know. It was interesting. I mean, I loved Will and Grace so much growing up. Like, it was iconic and it was so formative. And it just, multicam, there's its own musicality to multicam. Like, the thing that I was frustrated by my own performance in Will and Grace because, like, I always consider myself very funny, but the rhythms of a joke on a multicam, it's very like like set up, land. And I feel like my stuff is much more conversational all. And so I felt like to be on a multicam, there actually are some people you'll meet that, like, even outwardly aren't even that funny conversationally, but they're like comedy scientists and they like know exactly how the rhythm of a joke in a certain way. And I didn't have that rhythm. So I actually went through that job feeling like I had fucked up and didn't do a good job. And I didn't do a good job. I can say that kind of emphatically. But at that time, I was like, oh, this is because I'm unfunny or whatever. And now I'm like, oh, that's just not my genre of law. And like, that's a different institution and a different mode of being funny. So it was like challenging, to be quite frank. But yeah, it all worked out.
Yeah, I have a question. So, thinking about, you starring in Special and writing this book and having disability at the forefront, do you ever find that it was that people were trying to do the oh my god, I'm so like proud that you're doing this as a disabled writer, and like really trying to milk you for that emotion from disability? Because I think like sometimes people can get into disability masturbation where they just like, oh yeah, this is so great, I love watching you talk about your trauma. It's like, how did you navigate and deal with that?
It's constant, it's ongoing. It's like literally like I have to by law do a panel about disability like once a month, and I'm like truly furious. I'm just like, stop. I'm like, this doesn't do anything. They're like, yeah, disability, that's crazy. Hollywood, that's crazy. And go. And I'm like, unpaid as if. Like, honey, if you're gonna pay, you gotta pay me for my trauma. Like, hello. So I feel it's definitely icky. I think here's the thing, capitalism is at odds with altruism. So like shooing in this sort of like diversity, representation, and then also the business of making money are fundamentally at odds. And it's icky. And it does not feel good to be commodified for your trauma. And so I have definitely felt times like kind of like trotted out as like the disabled show horse, like dance monkey dance. And I'm like, dance, don't you know I'm disabled? But it's like, so that has not been great. Like, it's taken me time to be like, to just say no to things, and like, that doesn't make me like a bad ally or a bad activist. I mean, I feel uncomfortable even with that label, TBH. Someone on the ferry came in here, maybe he's here, I don't know. He was like, oh, you're such an activist. I'm like, I'm actually not. I just feel like the second I open my mouth, because I'm gay and disabled and I have like the confidence of David Spade in the 90s, like people are like, oh, like you're so great, like, and I'm like, no, I'm just like, I put it in my work, like I definitely put it all in my work, but I'm not here like signing petitions, like lobbying Congress, like any of that stuff. So I find it kind of uncomfortable. I feel like this, like, it's like non-consensual politicization of my identity that I didn't necessarily, you know what I mean? So it's a tricky thing to navigate. But now I just like don't do those panels really. I did one last week, but it was like a relapse. Yes.
I am a big fan of both of your work.
Can you repeat the question?
I wanted to know, what do you think would happen to Elliot if he found himself in the world of Yes Daddy? Like if he were in Long Island.
That's a good question.
I literally have this knee-jerk response that is so not PC or not meant to be broadcast, so I can't.
Can you repeat the question, Ryan?
It was like, what would Elliot do if he found himself in Yes Daddy? He'd be like, no one's looking at me. That's great. I told you, it's not chic.
Any other cues?
What's the picture of on the cover? It feels at odds with what's in the book.
Oh my God, lol. Tell me more.
Well, I feel like I've seen that picture on a dozen gay, not very good gay novels, and this picture, your book is edgier, funnier,
Yeah.
and the picture just doesn't feel like it's.
Well, that's a good question. That's a hot take.
It is.
I don't know. I like the cover. ... But I did go on a journey with it. Actually, we were originally going to have this David Hockney photograph with that guy coming out of a pool. Huh?
David Hockney
Sorry,
painting.
Painting.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, painting. And the sticker was going to cover. We couldn't show the butt because the world is homophobic, and like literally Amazon will like bury you if you have like an ass on the cover, which like so fucking dark. Meanwhile, like Audrina Patridge can just write a book. and we don't censor that. But so basically, I wanted to do this David Hockney thing. David Hockney was DTF, but they're like, you can't censor the butt. Like, we can't put this over the butt. And I was like, okay. So then David Hockney went bye-bye, and then this came in, which like, I understand what you're saying. It's like kind of dreamy, like Call Me By Your Name vibes, and this is not Call Me By Your Name, but I still like it. It's like corny. It's like corny, and the book is corny. So,
And what's the image, Ryan? So where did the image come from? What is?
Oh my God, I should know this. It's the painter. It's in, I don't know. I forget the name.
Okay. We'll put it on the website.
Yeah.
Tell us about Provincetown. What do you love about this place?
Oh my God, well, I've been going here. So Cookie Mueller wrote about Provincetown. That was my first kind of gateway, because Cookie is live. She was made. Do you guys know about Cookie?
Yes.
Yeah, she's incredible. She was like a muse to John Waters and Nan Golden, and she lived this kind of fantastic life. I mean, I wrote about her in the book, actually. And so she wrote about Provincetown. She lived in Provincetown for many years before moving to New York. And so I always kind of imagined it as sort of this like utopia for kind of misfits. Now, by the time I got here, there was a Marc Jacobs, so you can't help what era you're born in. But I actually went with my dad. I went with my dad for the first time in PETA because when I was in my 20s, I didn't have gay friends really. It was so painful. Like I wanted nothing more than a gay community. Like I would truly like in New York, I would truly like find random gays that I was friends with and like sandwich us all together for like a boys' night out, and they'd be like, babe, we literally don't know each other. And we'd be like, we're friends, we're family. Literally, you're crazy. So actually, and this is truly lol thinking about it, my first like 6 or 7 times in Provincetown in my 20s when I lived in New York were with straight people. And with my family. So my dad loves it here, truly. Talk about, I mean, I'm telling you, like, it's so versed. Like, my dad is addicted. And then my mom, I took my mom here. She loves it. My grandma, I mean, we did go to like during lesbian week, and she's like, there's so many lesbians. And I was like, yeah, Mom. Not in a bad way. She just like was commenting. And then I went with these coworkers of mine, Brandon and Stephanie, for like a couple summers. And then when I moved to LA, I finally did get the gay friend group I always wanted. and we've been going to Ptown every summer for the last 6 years. I feel like I always felt uncomfortable in queer spaces. I mean, now I don't. Now I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But I feel like this was like a perfect looping up experience for me that like was very gentle, and like I just don't feel judged here. I mean, I'm sure you could be judged if you were, you know, I'm sure there are ways, of course, but I have never felt judged here at all. And I just have not experienced that in like queer spaces, because like predominantly, you know, my experience with that was like West Hollywood or whatever. So I truly feel like everyone here, well, first of all, it takes like planes, trains, automobiles to get here. So to want to be here, you have to want to be here. So there's like a baseline love that I think everyone has for this town that I think you can really feel. It's palpable. And yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I would buy a house here if it wasn't so goddamn expensive. And also, by the way, now that we're, you know what, I am an activist because I want to use my platform right now. Because now that we're here, Gifford House, the Portside Bar, is my favorite bar in Provincetown. Hey, you know, every summer, love that porch. I feel safe in that porch. I feel like I'm back home on that porch. Something happened last summer. Go to Gifford House. Crickets. Where the fuck is everybody? I go across the way. Shipwreck Bar. Everyone's at Shipwreck Bar. Now, I love Shipwreck Bar. Great. Is it the Wave Bar? What is it called? The Wave Bar?
Shipwreck.
Love that bar, but like people migrated from Gifford to Shipwreck. That's what I feel. Am I being paranoid?
Tragedy. No, that's right.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, maybe this is a COVID thing, even though this is an outdoor patio. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna Nancy Drew it. I'm gonna table it. And I'm gonna like, what is going on with people? Like, I'm like, if you want to be a Gifford, you can